And then we tested the critical points and the endpoints to see which one gave us the highest y value and the lowest y value. That strategy only works if we have a function that is continuous on a closed interval. Look at this. What requirement does this not meet? It's not a closed interval. If we think about the graph, okay, I'm only going from 0 to 1. If I put in 0, 2 times 0 is 0. If I put in a 1, 2 times 1 is 2. But since it's not equal to, it would be an open circle. Okay, it's continuous, but it's not a closed interval. Do we have an absolute min on this one? Yeah, what is it? Do we have an absolute max? No, because it ends with an open circle. So you are not guaranteed to have an absolute max and min if you have an open interval, if you don't have two endpoints there. So it has to be closed for our strategy to work. Look at this one. It's a closed interval. Would this one have a maximum? I said it has to have an absolute maximum if you have a closed interval and the function is continuous. If I look at this graph, 1 over x between 0 and 1. So if I put in a 1, 1 over 1 is 1. If I put in 1/2, 1 over a half is 2. If I put in 1/3, we're getting 3. So this is just getting closer to 0. And 1 if x equals 0. It's a closed interval, but was this one continuous? No. When I look at this one, do we have an absolute min? You can have more than one if they're the same.
Yeah.
So they would be at,
0, 1.
do we have an absolute max? No. So these examples are really just illustrating a couple issues that we may have. Okay, we have to be a little bit careful as we're going through. It does need to be continuous. It does need to be on a closed interval. All right, I have several examples on here. We may or may not do all of them. We'll do a few for sure and then kind of see how we're doing. So if I asked you to find the max and min on closed interval 0 to 30, okay, I'm just looking at a polynomial, so it's continuous. I have a closed interval, so it's fine. What would you probably do before you did this derivative? So if I distribute 30 divided by 5 is 6, times 3 would be 18x. It's 3/5. So for our derivative, we get 18 minus 6/5 x. So for our critical points, we need to figure out when this is 0 or undefined. I said equal to 0. Multiply by 5 over 6 on each side. We get x to equal 15. Is my derivative 18 minus 6/5 x? Is that ever undefined? No. The undefined happens when you have a variable in the denominator. So that's my only critical point. So then how do we find the max and min? We have to do both endpoints, 0, 30, and then our critical point 15. We're putting them into our original. I'll put in 0. Somebody plug in 15, someone else plug in 30. Actually, I'll do 32. Those are both easy. If you guys plug in 15, tell me what you get. So if I put in 0, 0 times 30 minus 0 is 0. If I put in 30, I get times 0, so that's also 0. What did you get when you plugged in 15? 135. Okay, so what's my min?
0, 0, 0.
Good. And my max? Okay. Technically, this is absolute. I'm just abbreviating here. My directions just said max and min, so we can just label them with that, and that's sufficient. Is that all right? Let's look at percent. All right. What will I have to do to find this derivative? First. So low, d high, derivative of the top is just minus high. D low, derivative of the bottom is over low square. Okay, so if we distribute, we get 6p to the third minus 24p minus 6p cubed. Alright, my 6p cubes drop, so negative 24p over p squared minus 4 squared. So to find our critical points, we have to set our derivative equal to 0. If you multiply over, the denominator just disappears. So we get p equals 0. Critical points, we have p can equal 0. Are there any others? Yes. Critical points happen when the derivative is 0 or undefined. Undefined is going to happen when that denominator is equal to 0, or more specifically, when p squared minus 4 is equal to 0. So that's at positive and negative 2. So this one had 3 critical points. I didn't ask you to find the max and min. I didn't give you an interval to look at, but you certainly could if we had an interval. One thing, what if I asked you to find the max and min? What if I just said on the interval -1 to 3? What do you notice about my critical points? One of them is not in the interval. If that happens, you just don't test that point. So you would plug in the -1, 0, 2, and 3. You wouldn't have to test -2. So it's possible you get critical points that are not in the interval. You just disregard it. You don't have to test it. All right, questions there? Okay. How are we doing with this in general? Good. I have a lot of other practice problems on here. Well, 3 more. We can do them. If you guys feel okay, we can practice for a little bit, and then if we start having trouble, we can do some more practice ones. What do you guys think? You want to try some? Okay. I have a handout for you.